Good afternoon, my Real News Midday TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update. And in the news this afternoon, Joki to return to court in December, re-murder and unlawful burial. Orlando Chin, the man charged for allegedly killing the daughter of a woman who raised him from he was a child, has been remanded in custody until December 10. Chin, otherwise called Juki, a butcher of a Retreat district, Cassava River Glengoff, St. Catherine, has been charged with murder and unlawful burial relative to the death of 31-year-old Lisa Gay Cobre of the same address. The accused appeared in the St. Catherine Parish Court on Thursday and was remanded by Senior Parish Judge Yvette Wentworth Miller. Reports are that about 2 p.m. on Saturday, September 28, Cobre and the Chin got involved in a dispute that became physical, during which Chin allegedly pushed Cobre, causing her to fall and hit her head, after which she became unresponsive. Efforts by Chin to resuscitate Cobre reportedly failed, and he subsequently disposed of her body in a shallow grave near where she lived in the community. On Monday, October 7, Chin turned himself into the police and reportedly confessed to having killed Cobre. On Tuesday, October 8, he led the police to where Cobre's body was buried. Following a question and answer session with investigators in the presence of his attorney, Chin was charged with murder and unlawful burial. Speculation continues about who will replace Clark. Opposition flaws the Prime Minister over delay in naming new Finance Minister. With the deadline for the departure of Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark fast approaching, there were growing concerns over Prime Minister Andrew Holness's delay in naming his replacement, with increasingly louder whispers that he could move into the role. But there is no indication yet from government sources that Holness is considering giving up the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, which he has described as the key to driving the prosperity he wants for the country, to take a direct control of the country's purse strings. A highly placed source says Clark is to resign from the cabinet today and tender his resignation as the Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Northwestern on Tuesday, before leaving the island on Wednesday en route to Washington, D.C. to take up the post of Deputy Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund on Thursday. Clark will likely make his last address on a local political platform this evening, as he has been advertised as a speaker at the ruling Jamaica Labour Party's Area Council 1 meeting at the Pembroke Hall Community Centre. On August 26, when Holness made the surprise announcement that Clark would leave the job as Jamaica's finance minister to move to the IMF, he said the government has identified the successors to Nigel Clark in both his ministerial and parliamentary responsibilities, and there will be a smooth transition in both capacities. We will provide updates in due course, and the public can expect a policy continuity and a continuation of the economic achievements that this government has worked so hard to secure. Now, 64 days later, there has been no announcement from Holness, sparking jitters in the financial and business sectors locally and overseas. Among those expressing concern over the delay in naming Clark's replacement is opposition spokesman on finance Julian Robinson, who on Saturday told the news that the delay is unacceptable and sends a bad signal. I am very concerned that 8 weeks after the announcement was made that he would be leaving, and given the Prime Minister's statement at the time that he had somebody lined up, that there has been no announcement. We know that he has to depart in the upcoming week, and it is almost as if this is going to be held a state secret until his departure, said Robinson. This is probably the second most important portfolio in any government, and it is important to know who is going to take over that responsibility. And to go 8 weeks without any indication from the government does not send a good signal to the country or to the markets, added Robinson. According to Robinson, shortly after the Prime Minister announced that Clark would be leaving, it would have been in good order to signal his replacement. It is an intangible element of confidence which markets respond to, and this level of uncertainty does not bode well for confidence that 2 months after what would have been a surprise announcement, and the Prime Minister said at the time he had somebody, why he would not indicate who the person is and that the person would be taking over at a particular point in time, Robinson said. But President of the private sector organization of Jamaica, Mitri Siaga, is not as concerned. He told the news he understands the challenges faced by Holness in selecting a new finance minister. The truth is, the Prime Minister has a very difficult decision to make as Dr. Clark leaves some big shoes to fill. I expected that after his resignation on Monday or Tuesday, we will hear in short order who the Minister of Finance will be, said Siaga on Sunday. So we wait with bated breath, but I don't think that naming someone before this would have made any difference, added Siaga. In the meantime, a leading member of the financial sector, who is usually willing to comment publicly on national issues, but requested that his name be withheld based on the country's current political climate, argued that Holness move into finance would not be a bad decision at this time. According to the financial manager, Holness was integral to the policies introduced by Clark, and his presence at the finance ministry would inspire confidence in the market. Whether you liked him or not, you have to admit that in the 6 years that he has served as finance minister, Dr. Clark has done well in terms of keeping the country on the right fiscal track, managing one of the most difficult crises the country has ever seen in COVID-19, and leading the reform of the public sector. Golding claims a PNP poll improvement confirms electorate wants a change of government. People's National Party President and opposition leader Mark Golding has characterized the latest polls showing more voters being inclined to vote for his party as a clear sign that the electorate wants a change in government. According to the latest Don Anderson poll, 39.3% of respondents say if an election were to be called now, they would mark their ballot for the PNP, while 30.2% say they would vote for the governing JLP. This showed that the opposition has increased its lead from the previous Don Anderson poll, which showed the parties locked in a statistical dead heat. The poll also showed that the PNP has pulled further ahead of the governing JLP in favorability rating among the public. Mr. Golding, speaking at a party meeting in Magotty, St. Elizabeth on Saturday night, said he was not surprised by the poll result. According to Mr. Golding, the data show that the electorate has lost the trust in the Andrew Holness administration. Mr. Golding added that the opposition's message on the economy, the poor conditions in the health sector, education and crime is resonating with the electorate.
How can we have a Prime Minister who cannot have his statutory declaration certified, who has been subject to a report by the Integrity Commission indicating that they could not satisfy themselves that they had not been involved in the offense of illicit enrichment, and referring the matter for further investigation to the Financial Investigation Division, an agency of the Ministry of Finance that investigates financial crimes, and tax administration Jamaica, because the returns that these companies file are not compatible with the transactions that were seen passing through the books of account of those companies. We cannot have a country run by somebody who is not in good standing with our own Integrity Commission. We need to move forward to a better place, a place where government demands integrity from its leaders, where resources of the state, which are public resources belonging to the people, are used exclusively and only for the benefit of the people.
But a political commentator, Peter Eswet, while conceding that the latest poll result shows the continued slide of the JLP, which began last year, does not believe this should be credited to the performance of the PNP. Eswet, speaking Sunday with the news, said the Jamaica Labour Party has lost the trust of a larger chunk of the electorate despite its touting of its economic achievements.
people like myself say, of course, JLP has done good things. You would be a fool not to say that. However, they've also done some pretty bad things. And a lot of people, the reason people are voting against the JLP is not because of the good they've done. They've done good. Don't make no mistake. But there are also some pretty bad things that have happened. From my point of view, of course, there's always the environmental problem. But aside from that, there are issues to do with the lack of transparency, how the whole constitutional reform thing was handled. No discussion. This nuclear plant that has been just announced, there's been no public discussion about that. If people are afraid of the government, what they will do, one day we'll wake up and hear that something else has happened without any consultation, any discussion. And so the JLP needs to be very much aware. Bleating about all the wonderful things you have done, it's not going to change people's opinion and fear of them. People are afraid of the JLP. What they've got to do because they don't consult.
Government Senator Cavant Gill, who also spoke with the news, said while accepting the validity of the poll result, insisted that the JLP will prevail in the next general election.
It's always the hardest thing to win for any political party is going to be the third term. And that is where the greatest degree of apathy is going to take place. I don't really question polls. The most important poll for me is that poll on election day, when, the people will come out and demonstrate the good work the Jamaica Labour Party administration has done in terms of creating growth, sustainability of the economy, creating that level of employment. And I disagree with my friend Peter about the consultation. I differ in the view that this administration does not consult. It really does consult.
Guys, thank you for watching. See you this evening at 6 p.m. for another news update.